Hello everyone, welcome back. In this very short video we're going to look at a new feature I've added to the multiplayer system. You now have the ability to send variable sized objects, iterable objects, and I'd avoided doing this beforehand because I felt that giving the users the ability to send lots of data very conveniently is a very sure way of causing problems, but true to the philosophy of Python, I suppose, it's easy to ask for forgiveness than for permission. I think it's best that we let people make mistakes and learn from them rather than just prevent them from the offset. So I've implemented it. Now, it's currently implemented in the form of sets and lists. Generally speaking, I would advise using sets where possible because it means that you can ensure you're not sending multiple different copies of the same data and wasting bandwidth. It's implemented much like any other attribute. You have your attribute definition, that's fine. You input the class instance, so in this case it's an instance of list. But the other thing you've got is an element flag argument, and here you have to basically define a reference to the type flag of description of the type of values that are going to be in the list. So the only problem is every single element in the list or the set needs to be of the same type. So here I've got it set to the type of replicable, meaning all of these are replicable references. Now to demonstrate, I've got some machinery that's just sort of setting up a packing and unpacking environment, and what we can do is run this. The top number here is the number of bytes, which is 11, and the number below that is true. That true statement is evaluating whether the original list is equal to the unpacked list, and the answer is yes. If I set this to a set, then you'll see this will drop down immediately because I'm appending for 10 times the same replicable, so it just gets rid of all of the extra copies. And we have two bytes. One is sending the number of items in that set, and the second one is then the actual data, which is the ID of the first replicable, which is only a byte. So this is a very useful, very quick, easy to use system. In terms of the code, it's implemented very simply. It's quite very extensible. I've implemented a base class, and then that looks up some functions that help it to add, update, and create a new iterable object. And we have a basic function that gets the hash of the iterable in some special fashion. We don't actually compute hashes necessarily. Instead of using the hash function, we call it a helper function, which will normally look up the hash in some way, but it helps to avoid problems with vectors, for example, which don't hash by default. Okay. Another thing to look at is some API information. You can always add your own packers and different types of handlers to the system. You can even actually remove the entire serializer func system that I've implemented and replace it with your own, like JSON. So you basically get rid of this native handlers module. But you can add all this stuff yourself. All of this code actually runs two functions, register handler and register description. And a handler is basically an object that can pack and unpack data, and a description basically tells you when it enables you to compare data to later data, so modified data, without having to basically copy and deep copy and then implement equals operations. So you can basically create a number, for example, which is much quicker. Other changes, quite hard to describe. I've done a lot since my last video that I've uploaded, a lot. Most of it is bug fixing, a lot of it is features. I've fixed, or rather I've implemented the ability to instantiate netmode specific types from their base class. So here I create a channel. I don't tell it whether it's a server or a client channel. By default I'm on a server environment, so it gives me a server channel, and if I try and access the server channel class, it will still give me a client channel if I'm on a client. So it's specific to the environment, which is helpful. I've also improved the speed up times for, the speed at which you can create objects, network objects. It still isn't as fast as I'd like, but I will get there eventually. So here is the current system as it stands, and oh, we've got a small error. Let's try this now. So you connect, spawn. I fixed some bugs with this part of the system. Sometimes objects weren't being created in time. I fixed that. I've also fixed some of the movement codes smoothly. I've implemented ticks instead of variable time steps, just because it's quicker and easy to debug. And I've added this bow weapon type to demonstrate. So things that I'd like to change, I was going to implement capture the flag mode today, but I didn't get around to it. I need to look at implementing weapon lag detection, and from there on I'd just like to get a demonstration game working. So thank you for watching, and I'll keep you posted.